Scientific studies are very clear. Religious people tend to be happier than non-religious ones. In this video, we will give you the evidence which proves this. Then we will give you 3 logical takeaways from these findings. And watch to the very end to learn what atheists could say to rebut the surface implications of these studies. Hi, my name is Todd, and welcome to Mission Millennial Z Alpha Generations, where we share the other side of the creation story with today's youth. Now, let's get right into the evidence that I referred to here. And this is an AI overview of the subject. Yes, religious people are generally happier than non-religious people, though there is no single factor that determines happiness, and religiosity is not the only factor that contributes to happiness. This is true in many countries, including the United States, Japan, Australia, and Germany. Explanation. Social connection. Religion can provide social connections and networks. Positive emotions. Religion can help people cultivate positive emotions like gratitude and awe. Health. Religious people are less likely to smoke and drink, which can contribute to better health. Civic engagement. Religious people are more likely to vote in national elections and be involved in community life. Belief in a higher power. The belief in a higher power that is watching over you can provide security and well-being. However, it's important to note that there are many factors that influence happiness, and religiosity is not the only factor. For example, people who attended religious services regularly but had no friends in their place of worship were worse off than those who did not go to services at all. Now, there's a number of articles that go into a deep dive on this. This is just an overview. So let's just look at one of them right here, and we'll read a good part of this one to get a flavor of what this is all about. And this article is called, "Are Religious People Happier?" The science is pretty clear. According to many studies over the years and confirmed in my new data analysis, religious people are, statistically speaking, measurably more likely to be happy. By Stephen Craney. Debates about the impact of religion in the world have been going on for a long time. There is one facet of that debate, however, which scientifically speaking is largely settled. From the standpoint of statistics and empirical evidence, how much do we know about whether religious or non-religious people are happier? A lot, it turns out. The literature on health in general and religion is vast. An Oxford University Press book summarizing the research on the subject, for example, comes in at almost 900 pages. In the analysis in this handbook of religion and health, they reviewed 326 articles on the relationship between health and measures of religiosity and subjective well-being, happiness, or life satisfaction, finding that 79% of those studies reported that religious people were happier, while only 1% reported that they were less happy. The rest found no or mixed findings. Just because something is correlated, of course, doesn't imply causation. So just because religion and happiness tend to go together does not mean that religion causes happiness. Yet, the same Oxford book found a dozen studies that were randomized controlled trials, the gold standard of establishing cause and effect, where people were randomly assigned to different religious interventions, and in more than half of them, simply assigning people to various interventions, encouraging them to be more religious, led to measurable increases in happiness. The finding of a relationship between happiness and religiosity is so established that many research papers take it as a given starting point. For example, a recent paper published in one of the most prestigious social science journals on whether religiosity makes it easier to deal with unemployment, it does with some caveats, states that it is a well-known research finding that in general, the religious are happier than the non-religious. So how does anyone actually measure happiness? It's actually quite easy. Just asking people how happy they are has been shown to be related to a wide variety of other measures of well-being. So researchers can easily include a single question measure about happiness in a survey that is valid for research on the concept of happiness. We'll end there, and we will link this article in the description if you want to read more. So, what are our 3 takeaways from these findings? One, and this might be kind of shocking for you to hear me say this, especially if you're an atheist, atheists should promote religion. Studies have shown religious people are more happy. We just saw that. Healthy and productive too. We haven't got into those studies. Than their non-religious counterparts. It wouldn't hurt to take Pascal's wager, would it? Pascal's wager is basically, you should live as if God exists, because not only will you, even if you don't believe God exists or you're unsure, not only will you accrue the benefits that come to you in this life from doing that, and we just read some of them, didn't we? But you will get the benefits that come in the next life as well. So why wouldn't you do that? Like, what's the guy's name? Jordan Peterson. He's a famous person now that if you ask him if he believes in God, he says, I act as if God exists. Meaning he's probably an agnostic when you hear him say stuff like that. All right. Now, according to atheist Sam Harris in his debate with William Lane Craig about the moral values, Harris claimed the flourishing of human species is the number 1 commandment of atheism. To him, that doctrine constitutes the sole objective moral imperative of naturalism that trumps everything else. So you would think Harris and Dawkins and all the new atheists would promote religion, since sincere religious people tend to be happier, healthier, more productive. But they don't, do they? It's just the opposite. In the God delusion, in fact, Richard Dawkins calls religion the root of all evil. He said the world would be better off without religion. Well, the science proves him wrong. The new atheists should be promoting religion if they truly follow the science as they claim. Instead, the new atheists are, sadly, on a crusade to destroy religion. And that's a confession that they make, that they are on that crusade. 2, the second takeaway. The Bible is correct about religious activity and being happier. The Bible says loving and serving God and your fellow man are the basic commandments in the Bible that sincere religious people live by. The Bible says the commandments to love God and your neighbor are, quote, for your good, and that all will go well with you. Jesus said, happy are ye when you obey his commandments. So these studies are a direct confirmation of the promises of the Bible. Simply put, these studies, at the very least, and that's all I'm saying here, at the very least for now, lend credence to the claims made by religious theists. Say, for argument's sake, let's flip it on the theists here, that religious people were the most miserable of all people. To say the studies found that, then that would be a strike against the claims of the Bible. I would readily admit that if that were the case. Now, number 3, and I want to make this very clear. These studies, the third takeaway, these studies do not disprove atheism in and of themselves. To be clear, they do not disprove atheism and prove theism. An atheist has a logical way to get out of the implication of these studies. He could simply say something like this: of course, atheists tend to be more depressed. That is because they are realists who recognize they are without hope in this world. Once they die, they will cease to exist. They will never see their loved ones and their pets or anything that made life worth living ever again. It will be as if they never existed at all forever. So they'll lose consciousness when they breathe their last breath. Now, who wouldn't be depressed given the cold, hard facts of atheism? That's the atheist still speaking. Lenin said religion is the opium of the people. We atheists are brave enough to stare death in the face without flinching. We don't need the drug of religion. Now, Richard Dawkins says it quite well in his book, The Blind Watchmaker. He summarizes the atheist dilemma quite well in this candid quote. In a universe of blind physical forces and genetic replication, some people are going to get hurt. Other people are going to get lucky, and you won't find any rhyme or reason in it, nor any justice. The universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is at bottom no design, no purpose, no evil, and no good, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference. Now, imagine you're a child and you're raised on a bedtime story like that. What kind of effect would that have on you? What kind of effect would that have on your psyche? You'd be more likely to be depressed. So that's all I'm saying in this. And I think a lot of you atheists out there or agnostics, you probably would agree with this. You'll agree with the studies. You'll agree, yeah. That's what the implications of this are. We just have to face the facts. Well, anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you do, hit the like button. Subscribe. Pass this channel on to those you think might be benefited by it. And we will see you in the next video. Thanks for listening.